All right, gang, today we're going to take a dive into Stockley Barlow's life. He's the co-owner of Altitude Solar. He's been in solar for 9 years, and he actually sold his first solar business back in 2019. So Stockley, man, it's great to get to know you.
You as well, man. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for agreeing to do this. I'm excited to dive in and kind of learn a lot from you, and hopefully I can add some value here as well.
Yeah, ditto, man. So I always like to start with people with, catching some of the listeners up to how you got started in the game. So it sounds like you've been in solar for about 9 years. What was the pre-solar Stockley's life like? What did that look like?
So pre-solar Stockley's life, he was just a construction worker. Did pretty much anything he could do to make money. I was always kind of like a hustler, trying to get out there and figure out like where I was at and what I would do the best I could do with where I was at, and that was in construction. My stepdad owned a big electrical company, so I kind of just rolled right into that. Got up to my 4 years journeyman electrician, and then I was clear burned out of that. Went into some other construction with my brothers, and then got kind of burned out of that. And then at that time, that's when I met the guy who I got into solar with, and he wanted to do the sell side of it, and he said, "Okay, if I'll do the sell side of it, if you do the fulfillment side of it." We got kind of diving into that, and then it turned out where he kind of just wanted me to do everything, but then he would take all the money, take all everything that was involved in it. In fact, one of the things he said that actually finally made me quit him after 5 or 6 years is he was like, "I have these idiots that'll do," because I was willing to do the work for whatever, like didn't matter. I was just trying to make money. So he would go tell people, he said, "I have these idiots that are willing to work for pennies on the dollar." And so he would way underbid all the jobs. So then we would get jobs. It was just a shitty situation.
And you were like, "Wait, I'm one of those idiots."
Literally, when I was like, well, I'm one of those idiots right now. I don't want to be an idiot. So how do I not be an idiot?
I love it, man. And so it sounds like you were in the construction trade. And so when you kind of engaged in that relationship with him, he was going to do the sales, and you had an understanding of the EPC side of it, the construction. That's kind of what got you into it.
Yep.
So how long did you do the construction side before you started getting into the sales side of it?
So I'm literally for probably 7 years did just the EPC side, the construction side of it. And what I did was, after that business kind of didn't work out, then I started just a fulfillment side. So where I would sub jobs from other EPCs that they didn't have the capacity to do the installs. So I would come in, and I would have a team of 2 or 3 crews, and I would install. I'd travel around the United States and install for these different companies. So I did that for a long time, and that's what I kind of grew up my first business, was just doing that. I think I had I think when I ended up selling, it was 2 crews, 2 trucks, kind of just a 2-man or a 2-crew company
operation.
So did that. And that's when I sold out to another like bigger company. And the best thing about that was selling that out was not because I made money selling it out, which I didn't make a ton of money. I made like better than nothing, But I got to work with a company that was like a legit company, and to see how a legit company runs, then I was like, because working for this guy, he was cut every corner, do everything to like cut everything down, and like never go by the book. Everything is too hard. Like I can't do taxes because it's too hard, right? Uncle Sam wants too much money, and we can't set up the right processes because it'll take too much time up front. It was, but then when I sold out and I got to work with this company, seeing how a legit company ran, that was probably some of the best information I could have got out of anything, on top of getting paid. So I got paid to learn how a big company runs, which there's a lesson right there too. If you think about it too, is like, if you're engaged in your life where you're at, it doesn't matter where you're learning from, as long as you're engaged, because that turned out to be one of the best. Even though the money wasn't the greatest, it turned out to be one of the best lessons for me on how to run a new company. So when I started my next company, was able to grow.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I've found in my life, and what I talk to a lot of people about that are just coming into industries, you find people, and listen, most of us in America and most people in the world come up from a fixed mindset. And so you're not acclimated to abundance and true wealth. And wealth is wisdom. And so what you see people like they're really focused on, how do I get money? How do I get money? How do I get money? And the problem is that money is the least way to get paid. The most that you can get paid is with knowledge, And so one of the things that I've been focusing with my people on a lot is stop focusing on the how. How do I make 100,000? How do I make 500,000? How do I make 1,000,000? And start focusing on the who, right? So, and I'll always pose this question: think of the most financially wealthy person that you know. Now, is that money, is their financial wealth what made them successful? And the answer is always no. It's their knowledge. It's who they are. And so I love what you're talking about, because what I've done in my life is try and put myself in the closest proximity to people who are so much smarter than me, that understand scale, that understand business, that have ideas that I don't have. And sometimes I'm just sitting in the corner watching and listening and engaging in that. And some of those times I haven't made any physical money from it, but all of those experiences have compounded and ended up being my financial success. It was because of my mental, spiritual wealth, my intellectual wealth, my business IQ going up. So I love that, man. I mean, it just sounds like and it takes humility to understand that. Like, I might not be making as much money, but today's success for Stockley is predicated on those times when you got less financials, and now you're reaping the rewards from the knowledge. So I absolutely love that, man. That's a great lesson.
That's exactly what Jim Rohn, I think it was Jim Rohn that said it. Like he said, set a goal to become a millionaire, not because of the money, right? But because of the person you have to become to get that money.
That's right.
So when I first listened to that, I was like, that don't make, what does that even mean? Like, of course, set the goals for the money, but now, as like life tends to teach you good lessons if you're paying attention, now is like, you go along, like so many people I work with, even in business right now, they don't understand that. They think like, I have to make $1,000 right now today, otherwise I'm never going to do this. So then I'm like, hey, well, good luck. You could either make 100 grand with us down the road in like 2 or 3 months, or 1,000, maybe after 5 grand, then I'm never going to pay you again, because you're not going above and beyond. But if you, set up the relationship to where you can make the real money.
Well, and you see this a lot in our industry. I mean, there are some unfortunate things in our industry. One of the unfortunate things is a lack of like foresight and maturity in some people. But listen, I guess it's not unfortunate; it's fortunate, because experiences is what gives us maturity. And you see a lot of guys, and they're out chasing nickels and dimes, and they don't understand. They want the cheapest red line or the cheapest thing. And the one thing that's a fact throughout all things is that you don't get good and cheap.
Yeah.
Same thing. You don't get good meal that's cheap. You don't get good shoes that are cheap. You don't get good clothes that are cheap. You also don't get a good EPC experience that's cheap. You don't get good education that's cheap. You don't get, and it's the same with our industry. If you want to be surrounded by higher level people that are doing higher level volume, that are doing higher level things, with companies that have good technology, good processes, good sales processes, good installation, that's where volume comes from. And volume and a good installation process and a good sales team are what actually create culture, where people are growing and learning together. They enjoy being at the company. They enjoy the process. Their homeowners are happy and they're happy. And that's ultimately easier to recruit for. And that is what creates a volume. And it's like, so it's a short-sighted way to see things, I think, in our industry. And you see that kind of lack of maturity, where guys are like, they're just chasing that cheapest nickel or that cheapest dime. And it's like, you're just not going to get good and cheap, man. So I love what you're talking about.
It's like if you see a Lamborghini for sale and it's 90 grand, you're like, okay, what's wrong with this Lamborghini? Versus you see one that's 320,000, and most of the time, you still got to do your inspections and whatnot, but most of the time that one's going to be the better one. And the experience of owning it is going to be 1,000 times better. And the experience of like using it, it's the same thing in business. And, you can't, you gotta get, like you said, like the companies that are cheap, the reason why they're cheap is they probably don't have the processes. They probably don't have like the infrastructure to be able to.
Something's missing.
Yeah. 100%. Something's missing in the thing.
I'm interested in this, man. Tell me about your experience as an EPC guy, an operator, a construction guy, and now you're in right? You do sales. You've obviously always had some sales capacity, but a lot of guys. I have pretty close. understanding of the EPC side of things. So I understand the operational side, the construction side, the crews, all of those things. But a lot of salespeople don't. So what if you had a message out there for salespeople and in the experiences that you've learned from crossing over from an EPC side into kind of sales, doing those things, what are some of the things that you think are important for people to understand about the construction side on a sales aspect?
It's just like anything. You have to dive into it. Like if you're half in and half out, you're never going to do good. A lot of people think like, oh, if I sell it, then I should be able to install it and all that kind of stuff. But then they're taking away their time from, like, if you're a good salesman and you go try to do the installs, you're taking, for example, I have this a guy who called me, a sales guy, like a couple weeks ago. He said, hey, I have this job. Can you come and do it? So we went out and looked at it, and he way undersold it, way undersold. It was a ground mount, and he wanted us to do it for the fulfillment side for like $4,000, and this had like 200 feet of trenching, 30 something panel ground out.
That's $50 a foot.
So
ground mounting hardware. You got some adders in there.
Yeah, but what we talked to him, I was like, dude, he's taken away because he undersold it, and so now no one's gonna fulfill it because he undersold it. So he's taken away. Now he's having to do the fulfillment, so he's taken away from his moneymaker, which is sales, and going in and trying to do this. So one of the biggest things you could do is hire somebody, find somebody that's good in that industry and hire them and save your time for what you're good at. Because, unless you want to make no money for a long time, then,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
So what's business like now, man? Tell me about your business, about your life, about what you're doing. Catch me up on the kind of now situation for Stockley.
Right now, literally what we're doing is trying to grow ourselves like as much as we can. And we're finally getting, like, we've had the goal for a long time. We have our vision boards and everything up in the office to where everybody can see. We've had the goal to like launch the sell side, because business before was we'd have EPCs that needed us to do the fulfillment. So some months we would be crazy busy. We'd have, 5 crews going out a day doing a ton of work. But then a week later, they would have nothing. So we were going up and down like this. So that's what really pushed me to say, okay, how do I get some stability here? And the way to get stability is I have to launch a sell side of it. So we had the goal to launch that, and we tried to put everything in place because we're EPC guys and we're install guys, so we don't know a lot of that. So we hired like mentors, coaches, the people that were good in the industry, and we tried to put their process into our system and do what we could with what we knew. So we'd put everything in, and then we'd ask them, hey, what's the next thing? What do we need to do? It's like how to make the system run and do that stuff. And then now finally we're starting to get people funneled in, the right people actually coming in to like help us grow. And then they're seeing like what we already have compared to what they, where they're coming from. And and then also being able to sell the vision is, sell where we want to go. Cause right now we're, nobody. And that's a big reason why I want to do the podcast and all that kind of stuff, is because I want to bring people along with what actually my podcast is called the TBD podcast, the to be determined, because I want to show people like, we don't know where we're going, but we have a vision. So show people like that, bring them along with what we're doing.
I love that, man. So scaling out a sales team as an operations-based guy, what have been some of the challenges that you've faced, and how have you kind of overcome them? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges?
Literally everything, everything, because I don't know any of it. So like, as I'm meeting people and like learning about them, and I think like, dude, some of the information that I would be willing to pay like hundreds of, like thousands of dollars for, somebody who works for the sell side that's making $18 an hour knows this information, but I don't know that person. So then I have to spend somebody that knows everything, and I have to spend, money, quite a bit more money.
What have been some of the biggest lessons that you learned?
Dude, to show up to everything, go to everything, like as far as like events. Sorry about that. As far as like events and all that kind of stuff, like show up to everything that's there, because everything that's out there, because you never know who you're going to meet. And one of my favorite mentors, he says that you're one deal, one phone call, one mentor away from changing your whole life. And literally in the EPC side of the business, like that's exactly how it is. You'll get one phone call, and that phone call will be worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. So that would be, a big thing. Show up to everything.
Yeah. Show up to everything. So I think that, What I primarily do is sales teams. So, just trying to scale sales teams. And it's the biggest question that I always get is, everybody wants to know how to recruit. How do you recruit? How do you recruit? And I think, like, as you're probably learning right now, recruiting is an ecosystem of people, and it has everything to do with everything from the installation, right? Are the installations going in smooth? They don't have to be, everybody, you have all these people with these crazy pitches in the industry, 8-day install. Well, there's something's wrong there, right? 8-day install with a $2, it's like, you're like, something's wrong there. Yep. But do you have a good installation process, meaning quality? Is it done legally? When it's done, is it done correctly? Is the homeowner happy? Are they going to be happy with the crew? Are they going to be happy with the site inspector? Then are they going to be happy with the crew? Are the install crews taking time on the roof? They're not busting tiles. We're not getting leaks in the roofs and all these different things. And so from that side, the customers are happy. So when the sales reps are interfacing with the customers from the front to the end, at the end, they're not getting complaints. They're getting referrals. Are they passing green tag, right? Are they waiting 6, 8, 10? People, when they look at this ecosystem of recruiting, that's one of the components. We have to have a good install side, because the installs make happy customers, and happy customers make happy reps. And then you have to have a good culture. And so who's in the office? Is it a culture of, like, is the office being led with ego, or is the office being led with servitude? Meaning, as leaders, our job should be get up and work for our people. How can we make our people's lives better? What knowledge are we taking in to help them grow as people? So as leading them, we're inspiring them to do more, but that's an environment and culture when people are doing things together. And then when they're happy on the culture side and they're happy on the install side and they're making money, their friends always just want to know, what are you doing? And that's where the organic recruiting, and you start to see that kind of snowball. And so people always have this idea, in my experience, when they say, what are you doing with recruiting? They're like, how do I get 20 guys or 30 guys? It's like, man, you have to start in the beginning. And you have to organically grow it correctly, and you have to take time and realize, most people will overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5. And they get so frustrated with that first year, they end up quitting before they hit the gold mine. And so it's just like, building sales teams, in my experience, is just the organic compound effect of doing a lot of things correctly over long periods of time. And like you said, showing up to everything for everyone all the time, being the rock, being the example, and then the compound effect and the law of attraction will just kind of naturally take its course. So I love that, man. So how much volume are you guys doing? What are your goals? That's a better one. On the vision board, what does the vision board say?
Well, since we're just literally we're just getting the ball rolling. We have it right here. It's our 60-day goal right now is 30 deals. So we have 4 reps right now. And like you said, like getting, you have to start from almost nothing. And I don't know anybody that has, bring 30 guys on and those 30 guys are still there. It's the guys that they bring on one at a time. And I feel like just like an installer, every good person you bring on, you go through probably like 5 or 10, not good ones, because sales is not for everyone. And, the solar industry just in general is not for everyone, just because, the fulfillment side is really hard work. You have to be there. You have to be committed. The jobs have to get done. Otherwise, you're out. And then the sales side, knocking on doors every day. So I'm in Arizona, knocking on doors when it's 100 degrees outside or 120 degrees. You have to have that kind of inner drive. And then you also have to know that the people are kind of like building with you, and you have a support deck and that kind of thing. But yeah, we have a goal right now, and we have it kind of broken down into like our reps, like how many sets they need to get, and closer how many he needs to do. And so we're trying to be conservative, but also like that would be a big deal for us to do that.
I love that, man. I think that it's a process, and I think that I'm a fan of like setting a bar and then just not moving it, and then setting a bar and then just not moving it. And maybe you guys hit 25 or 28, but you just keep pushing through it. And I think that people will overestimate the 30 deals. Doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but are you doing 30 deals? And if you are doing 30 deals, you remember, if you're doing more, let's say you're doing 100 deals, you remember when you were doing 30 deals. I remember when I was doing 30 deals. I remember how damn hard getting 30 deals is when you're trying to get 30 deals. Yeah. It's a grit and a grind, and there's a lot in it. So I love that, man. So, what are your ultimate goals for you guys? What are you looking for in the future? What's your vision for Altitude Solar?
Our vision is to build one of the best companies in the industry and then expand from there. So like I said at the first, like you have to start with where you're at. Mm-hmm. So we want to start in solar and then build a group of different of homeowners, home related stuff in the business. So we'll have solar and then maybe like a real estate side, and then just build on like everything that's in the industry. I know a lot of like solar guys that are getting into roofing and that kind of stuff. And just to grow, to build like a, what's that? Oh, you are?
Yeah, I own a roof.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like, it's the same thing. Like, I think it was Grant Cardone says, like, never just focus on the one. Like, if you're trying to build an additional stream of income, do it with something that's related to what you're already doing. And the roofing is that. You already have all the insurances. You already have everything for being up on the roof.
Yep,
makes sense.
I agree. So Legacy's vision is exactly that. I mean, we're going into, we just got into smart home.
Uh-huh.
They don't do the roofing. I do the roofing. It's and I look at business over time, and it's like, I'm not a roofer.
Uh-huh.
My friends have a joke. I'll take pin. They're like, you're not a roofer. And I'm like, well, I own a roofing company, so I'm a roofer. But it was like this natural thing that happened. We were doing, I remember the last year before we did our roofing company, we had done almost $500,000 in revenue with a local roofing company in Vegas. And it just seemed like, man, we need to get a contractor's license, and we need to get some insurance, and we need to figure out a way to do these roofs ourselves.
Yeah.
And even though I don't know roofing, I know that I can sell a roof with solar. And so it just seemed like a natural transition. So I mean, what Grant Cardone's talking about is absolutely money. And that's the cool thing about solar is it's like, it's the propulsion mechanism for so many other things. And, there's a saying in the door-to-door, like we knock doors to buy doors, but we can use this money for investments for other companies. Like, there's so much that can come from the fruits of our labors that can create so much. So I absolutely love that, man.
Dude, and then if you do it right too, you already have that homeowners, all that information. And there's homeowners that are going to need literally everything throughout the length of their home. And if you treat them right with the solar is a big purchase. And if that's a successful like purchase and they enjoyed the process, they're gonna be like, do you know anybody that sells doors? Dude, I sell doors. Do you know anybody that sells roofs? I sell roofs. And they're like, well, the process was so awesome with you before. Why would I go anywhere else?
They trust you.
So just going into that, that's awesome. That's what excites me too, is like building a business, not like you said, you're not a roofer especially, but you're a business guy. So now you own a roofing company, and you don't need to I was just listening to a book over the weekend by Carl Icahn, and he would go into these businesses that were underperforming. He would buy them up, and people would like laugh at him like, dude, you're not a technology guy. And he's like, but I'm a numbers guy. And I see this business is not selling for what it's worth, And so like, I'm not trying to everyday, I'm not trying to run the everyday operations, and he made billions of dollars,
Yeah, I'd like to do that. So it sounds like you're co-owners of Altitude Solar. And how long have you been in business? Who's your business partner?
So my business partner is my cousin Carl Barlow.
How long have you been in business with Carl?
So we've been in our business is Altitude Solar, and we've been running this one for just over 2 years.
And then our last business relationship was with the other guy. We were with 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like to talk, dynamic partnerships. And so what I see a lot in the industry is that most of us who are able to scale or, build some semblance of a business and kind of build business, whether it's 10 deals a month or 20 deals a month or 30 deals a month. And I'm talking, closers who are partners running a setter team, or, an EPC guy who's starting a sales team, or a pure sales company. In my experience, the dynamic partnerships are a key component to that. So over the 9 years, you've had 2 pretty healthy dynamic partnerships. And so what have you learned in dynamic partnerships in our business?
Dude, you have to, it's almost like a marriage, because you have you kind of have to do everything together, and there has to be like a very open form of communication. And when I've had problems is when we weren't communicating, where I thought we were going one way, they thought we were going that way. But when there is an open line of communication, it's the best thing ever, because I can't do everything. But if you have a partner, he can like pick up where I let off and vice versa. And then also if you're making a big deal or you have a big deal coming in, you say, hey, what do you think of this? And then you get the extra, 2 pair of eyes or 3 pair of eyes on that. But that's the reason why the first partnership didn't work, because it was all just, it's what's funny too, is he would say, everybody needs to not be greedy, but he would like be greedy, like it was insane. But
sounds like a narcissist.
Dude, crazy. I mean, he was a good sales guy too. And you have to have a little bit of that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be a good sales guy. But it was just after 7 years, apparently I suck at character, seeing who people are. But I made money too. So,
yeah.
But just developing that, and then just keeping the open line of communication. Communication is probably one of the biggest things in any relationship. Like, I don't know if you're married or not, but like, even with your woman, with everybody, with your salespeople, keeping an open line of communication, and then also regularly meeting, making sure that you're on the same page and going. So I think they can be some of the best things, and they can also be some of the worst things. That's one of our mine and his both big issues, is like, we bring somebody on, like, okay, like this guy, if you talk to anybody, everybody's always killing, all the time. So when you talk to somebody about like bringing on another partner, you're like, how do we make sure this person's actually who they say they are, and how do they also make sure that we're who we say we are. And then, because you want to bring on, like, I would rather have 2% of a $3 billion company versus 100% of $2 million company.
Yes.
So you want to bring on the partners, but how do you bring on partners that are actually adding value and not just like, oh, now I'm a partner, peace out,
Yeah. I think like I love this. I was just talking to one of my guys about this, and he was looking at going into a partnership in his office with another guy from our company. So they were just talking about joining. What I look for as a leader is I'm always trying to find 2 pieces that will complement each other. But it's also always my fear that they'll clash, and it's like when you get somebody that has servitude and one that has ego, those types of people generally clash. Or like you said, and I would debate, man. I think that, spending 7 years in that last partnership just says something about your character and your loyalty as an individual. I mean, it's like you're just bought in. And so to answer your question, the way that I feel about it is like, when I'm looking at people to engage in partnerships, the first thing I want to know is, what do their partnerships look like? What does their marriage look like? What's their oldest friend? What's the hardest thing they've done with somebody in business? How long have they known their friends? Yeah. Have they been in business with their friends? Because, you can start to gauge somebody like, wow, Stockley was in a 7-year business relationship with somebody who actually wasn't that great. That tells me a lot about Stockley as an individual. You're bought in, you're committed, you're loyal. And then, the next part of it is, I relate it to sports. Anybody who watches sports, if you watch a sport and you absolutely love a sport, you can talk about it. You know where the players go and what the players do and who the players are and how the ball moves down the field and what the fouls are and what the goals look, and you can describe the whole game. And there's people in our industry who they watch the game and they can explain the game and they can talk about the game really, really good. But the moment you put them on the field, they cannot move the ball down the court because they're not a true player. Yeah. And so for me, like when I'm looking at those, like taking on partners or matching partners, those are the things that I'm looking at. Like, what have you been through? What have you done? What's your oldest friends? Silly stuff. Like, do you cheat on your wife? That's not a good look. You're not loyal. Like, how did you, what's your oldest best friend? And you can kind of tell somebody there. And then beyond that, it's like, man, we have to get on the field and move the ball down the court together. And I always said in walkbacks, like, listen, if you are what you say you are, this is going to be great, but let's do a 30, 60, and 90-day evaluation. And if you can move the ball down the court, we're good. And if you can't, we're going to have to give you a red flag in your locker.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's what when I was hiring people for the install side, I would say, okay, let's come on. You give me a chance for 90 days. I'll give you a chance for 90 days. We'll agree to this price. But then after 90 days, let's reevaluate. And 90% of the time, they don't, oh, dude, it's going to be great. And literally every person that I've done that after 90 days, they'll come to me, hey, can I get a raise? And I'm like, these are the issues we've been having. And I don't just wait for the 90 days to bring up the issues. I say like, look, you're not on time. You're not this, or if they are, dude, it's the coolest thing too in the world when you say, dude, you've been killing it. Here's your 2 raises. You want to take care of your guys, especially if they're taking care of you. Like, that's the coolest thing ever. Like, I was talking to one of my friends the other day. Like, I don't want to be the only person on a yacht, for example, or the airplane, or like, I want to do it with my friends. I want everybody around us to like do good, because, and it's weird. It's like kind of like scary inside too, because when somebody like goes, like one of your friends goes, buys something cool, you're like, fuck, dude, he went and bought something cool. Does that mean I'm a douche because I don't have that? Or, it's just, especially if you're the leader, then you're like, people, like, you have to be the person that people can kind of like look up to and, enjoy being around, because if you're not, then it'll kind of eat you inside too. If you're like just a poser, at least it does me.
Well, I think it should anybody. I mean, one of, in Maxwell and 21 irrefutable laws, the biggest law is the law of the lid. And, when we look at recruiting and scaling sales teams, we're always going to recruit to our recruiting cap. Like, we're not, Bs are not going to recruit As. Cs are not going to recruit Bs. As can recruit Bs and Cs. But what our goal should always be is to be accelerating as human beings through, podcasts just like these. You do your own personal podcast. I do my own personal podcast. The reason I do that is because I get to have conversations like these where I'm engaged mentally with another human being, learning from them. But, I really prescribe to Brian Tracy's philosophy on use your car as a college. I'm listening to a book or a podcast every day on the way to work and on the way back to work. I'm geeking out on YouTube and dumb stuff, so like everything that I'm doing, I'm engaged in. Listen, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't cheat on my wife. I spend time with my daughter and my family. So I'm constantly finding ways to live as an example for my people and then become a better person so that I can teach my people. So I'm constantly trying to raise my lid so that I can recruit more and add more value to more people and change more people's lives. But it's exactly that. It's like this constant effort, like in leadership. I think that's one of the biggest areas that I focus on, and I see most people, not most, but some people not focus on, is just being the best version of yourself, like actually being somebody who people want to emulate, because the men and women that I admire in our industry, they're great people. They're good family people. They're good husbands and wives. They're good with their children. They're good with their teams. They're constantly educating themselves. They live with principles. They're not people. Most of the people that I really admire, I've never seen them drink alcohol or do drugs. I can't even imagine it.
They don't.
They don't.
They don't, because you can't do big things. I can't say you can't. It just seems like you can't do big things, intoxicated or drunk, or, you can't. And then, like you said, like find them. For me, growing up, and I had like this shitty like upbringing. Like my dad, my stepdad, they was never like go out and like achieve. It was always like, no, don't do that. So finding like as a mentor, when I was younger, I would go to any mentor and I'd just find anybody because I just needed information. And then now I have to find somebody. Like, it's hard for me to even listen to, this might sound like I'm an asshole, but it's hard to me to listen to somebody that doesn't have like a lifestyle that I would want, like the family lifestyle that I want, the business. Like, it has to be the whole package now. Like you have to have the family that looks like I would like, and then the business that I would like, the lifestyle that I would like, everything. And then I can listen to everything they say. And then I don't have any like, no, that's bullshit. It's just, I take it like, if it works for you, dude, I'm willing to try it in my life. And then,
I vibe with that, man. I think that I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just literally having a conversation about this the other day. It's like, I'm not comfortable talking to people who aren't in the process of becoming better people. Like, and I don't need you to be exactly like me, but if you want to sit around and talk about drinking and clubs and, or how hard life is or how miserable life is, I'm like, get your ass up and change it, man. Like, I don't have time go read a book. Go create, nobody is, I'm very blessed. I'm blessed in so many areas. I'm blessed with my family, my daughter, my wife. I'm blessed, physically, I'm blessed mentally, spiritually, and all that has come with an extreme amount of work. I mean, I want to be the best man I can for my wife and my team. I go to therapy once a week to see the world from a different paradigm. I want to live till I'm 100, man. I go to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't drink alcohol. I take time to work on the things that I need to work on to become a better person. And if that's not what you're doing, we don't have anything to talk about. Like, we don't have anything in common. Like, I don't think I'm better than anybody, but if you're just kind of moseying through life, like, so I don't think you sound like an asshole at all. I vibe with you 100%, and I feel the same way.
Well, what's funny though is when you do, like, you're doing all that kind of stuff and you're hanging around those kind of people that are doing that, they're like, what, you think you're better than me? And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm better than you, but I want bigger things. So maybe that makes you like better because you want more, like there's a saying that courage consists in trying to be courageous. It's like, that's, you're not just, I'm courage over here. It's an everyday thing.
Being courageous. Yeah.
That you bring up something about something that I've always like kind of pushed down, but you said you go to therapy. Is that like, because that it seems like as a man, right? We're like, dude, we can handle at least I am like that, could handle everything. I don't need somebody tell me what to do and, listen to my fucking bullshit problems. And, what got you into that? And what's your experience with that?
No, it's a great question, man. So, one of the things that I really, really prescribe to is vulnerability. And so Brene Brown wrote a book called Daring Greatly. And Brene Brown poses a theory in Daring Greatly. And the theory is that vulnerability is the strongest characteristic that a man or woman can possess as a human being. And the reason is because, when we're vulnerable, the reason not to be vulnerable is the fear of being judged. The reason not to be vulnerable is, because of some anxiety that we'll lose control. And in reality, your most authentic self, how you truly feel about situations, how you truly see the world, that's who you are authentically. And to have, like, in my experience, genuine, true, authentic relationships, it requires vulnerability. And so I'm pretty vulnerable openly, publicly on my podcast. I actually had my therapist on my podcast because I was like, and other people need to hear this. And so my experience with it is that, so listen, I really prescribe to Stephen Covey in 7 Habits. And, what he talks about in 7 Habits is that we see the world as we think it is, not as it truly is. And, my life experiences, all of our life experiences have us viewing the world from our own paradigm. So we see the world through the lenses of our own experiences individually, that are social, economical, how we grew up, our sphere of influence, our parents, the schools that we went to, the troubles, the not troubles. We see the world today from the lens of those experiences individually. And in general, that's not the way the world truly is. So we're seeing situations and experiences and things are happening, people are saying and doing things, and we're viewing it from a certain paradigm, and that's not always the correct paradigm. And so for me, what therapy does is, it helps me run, and I talk to my therapist about everything from business to my marriage to parenting, to my childhood, to my traumas. And what I'm just in this constant effort to try and see the world in a more expanded light and see the world from more angles than I can currently see it. And, the problem is, like, life is like a mirror, and, we see this thing and it's always bouncing back, and we're always reacting the same, and we're always dealing with problems the same. And we're always arguing with our wives the same, and we're always dealing with our children the same, and we're always engaging with our team members the same. And, it's the tough things that we have hard times with. It's like relationships with human beings is, in my experience, one of the most difficult things that, if you just stuck me on an island with some coconuts, I'd be fine, right? It's like I have to deal with people. And so for me, therapy has really helped me, the best way to put it is to accelerate my emotional health, to accelerate my emotional well-being, to accelerate my emotional maturity, where I'm able to think through things, see things from different angles. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen something from the way that I see something, and my therapist has pointed out so many times, like, but you're saying that this person or that is happening, and you're really not seeing it for what it truly is. And when I've kind of dawned on a different paradigm or a different way of thinking, it's changed. And so my mom said this to me a lot when I was growing up, and it holds true. She said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. And so that's really what therapy's done for me. It's just expanded my mental aptitude, my emotional IQ in dealing with life and teams. And I know that it's made me a better person, a more attractive person, easier person to engage with. And leadership is influence. And I feel that my emotional well-being and my emotional maturity level have increased my influence on people and helped me in every aspect, from parenting to my marriage to business. So it's been, I go once a week, and it's been a great experience for me. And that's what we do, is we get in this thing where we say, I got this. And it's like, well, in business, you're paying people, you'll pay somebody to come in, you'll pay them $10,000 for sales coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You'll pay $5,000 to go to, door-to-door calling.
Mm-hmm.
You'll spend, X amount of money on books and all of these other things. Like, I spend, listen, I do pretty good now. So I have peptides. I have a peptide I take for my joints, and I have a sauna at my house and a cold place. So I'm willing to invest in my body, because I want to live. I want to be healthy. Yeah. Why not invest in your mind and your spirit and your emotional health?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a component of good, solid leadership in my experience. I want to be that well-rounded person. So I'm a huge advocate of it, man. I say it can't hurt.
Yeah. I do a lot of that same stuff, like the peptides, and I try to do I don't have one at my house just because I can't justify, but one of the things I've been doing with the guys is, like, we want to build like a gym here at our office. So that's going to be one of the things, once we get to a certain level, bring a cold plunge, because they all like to do that. But the other follow-up question on that was, how do you find a good one? Because you can't just go, online, Google, therapist near me. You have to find someone that you can like I went to for example, I went to a church the other day, as I grew up super religious. And so I didn't go to church for a long time. And then recently, or maybe it's half a year ago, I went to a church, and the guy was saying great stuff. Like, he wasn't saying anything bad, but I just dude, I can't relate to you. I can't take really advice from you because, you're fat, 50 and overweight. And I just can't you're not a bad guy, but you're not who I want to be. So I can't really what you're saying. Yeah, cool, whatever. But somebody like, for example, Andy Elliott, whatever he says, I'm like, dude, done.
I actually interviewed Andy Elliott on my podcast. And when you were talking about a gym in your office, I was thinking, Andy Elliott, man, it's 11 o'clock. All the boys at the gym.
Yeah.
I love that dude. His energy is fire. Yep. I think that, the answer is when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So, I can plug her, Jamie Lynn. You can find her on Instagram. She does, my therapist does telehealth, which I have found to enjoy quite a bit. I didn't know how I'd respond to that, meaning that, I jump on it's a medical link with her so that it can't be interfaced. But that's so much more convenient. I can do it in the office. I've done it in my car. I've done it in my house, where it's just so much more convenient to do it. Here's what I've learned in life. And I was just listening to Huberman on the Huberman Lab yesterday, and he had a guy on that was talking about fitness. I can't remember his name. But, one of the key components that he was talking about was, people will want to listen. I'll just say it the simplest way. Make everything as easy as possible to do. Make hard things easy to do. Like the last 3 houses I've owned, I'm not kidding you, have been within 5 miles of a gym. Mm-hmm. And I also have a gym at my house. And the reason for that is I know that if the gym was within 5 miles, I don't mind driving there every day. But I do mind driving 20 or 30 or 40 minutes to a gym. Yeah. But it's the same thing with therapy. Like, what I found was that I didn't go as often when I went in to the office, and I have to drive 20 miles to go over there, and telehealth. And, when I was ready, I started talking to people. And amazingly, the law of attraction is a weird thing. If you want it and you think about it and you talk to people, it will come. And it just happens in sometimes the most, the chessboard moves in sometimes the most celestial ways. We're like, how did that happen? But, I agree with you. It's like, it has to be the right person. And, for me, telehealth has been the best way to do that. My therapist is a female. I've had male therapists. There's different types of therapy. I like talk therapy. She does what's called reframing. So she'll kind of repurpose things. Just for instance, this was on our podcast, but this is what I learned from her. Have you ever heard somebody say like imposter syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I don't belong in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had asked some of my guys in the region, I'm like, the leadership, I'm like, what questions would you ask a therapist on a podcast? And one of them, one question that came up a few times was imposter syndrome. And I'm like, I felt that. I've like literally felt
100%.
imposter syndrome. Like, how did I get here? I don't belong in this room. And so I asked her about imposter syndrome. And she goes, let me reframe that for you. She goes, that's a lack of self-confidence. It's not imposter syndrome. You have to take the flashy words off of it. And what you're actually saying is, I don't feel like I deserve to be here. I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. That's what you're really saying to yourself. Because the feeling is, I don't feel like I belong here. I'm not good enough. And then to sugarcoat it and make ourselves feel like, I feel like I have imposter syndrome. And so my question for her, I said, geez, when you say it like that, it's true, because that's what it really is. Like, I'm in a room with people who I don't feel like I belong here. I'm not good enough. How did I get in here? Well, you're there for a reason. But the question is, why do you feel like that? Where is that feeling coming from? And that's where therapy can help. So it's like she takes something that's simple that we kind of all feel, and she reframes it and gets you to the raw emotion of it. And when you frame it that way, you say, hey, I'm actually feeling like I'm not good enough. And I actually am good enough. Mm-hmm. I am good. I did earn my way in here. I'm in this room for a reason. And while I may not know as much as everyone else knows, I'm here to learn. And when I do learn, I take action. Like, I'm boots on the ground. Like, I'm in this room for a reason. Yeah. And so just simply like having somebody reiterate stuff like that and help you reframe it and change your paradigm and change the way you think about things. So like, what is a good therapist? A good therapist is somebody that can help you relate to life on life's terms and change the way you're thinking. Because just with that one thing, I'll never have imposter syndrome again. Because when I'm having that thought, I'll think, why am I feeling like I'm not good enough to be in this room? Why do I feel like I don't deserve it? And then I'll go through the process, and I already know I do feel like I deserve and belong in this room. I just need to be quiet and listen until I'm more intelligent that I can speak. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot, but like, those are the things that make me a better leader. Mm-hmm. That's the things that makes me a better father. Those are the things that make me a better husband. So like, it's been an invaluable experience for me.
Yeah. Well, and like what you said, like, it changes your view on the world. Like, me and my wife and I would love to travel for like literally this exact reason, because you'll have all your problems at home and everything seems like it's such a big deal. Then you travel outside the world, you realize, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Like the stuff, the mortgage is not that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal. Yeah. But
now,
rich people problem.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. But it really you have a different perspective, and like you said, you see things differently. Like, okay, like, yeah, we have a mortgage payment or whatever, but dude, we get to pay mortgage. We live in a beautiful house. We drive nice cars. We have, we have all this stuff, and it's like we get to do that. Now it just changes your perspective, and then you also realize like everybody's kind of going through the same thing. Everybody's trying to succeed. I don't know about succeed, but everybody's trying to like, make ends meet. Everybody's trying to like, find somebody that they love. And then also opens your mind to people, because you're not really scared of people. And that helps in business a lot, because without people, you're not doing anything.
Nothing. 100%.
So just like changing your perspective. But that was good, because I've heard a lot of like very successful people say like, I have a therapist, but I've just, in my mind, I think like, fuck, dude, like you said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I guess what I use for therapy is more of just like mentors right now, and I share with them, like, hey, these are the problems I'm dealing with right now. And most of them are in business and that kind of thing. So that helps me a lot too. But
you got some beasts out there with you, man. So listen, you're out there competing in a pretty heavy market. I mean, that's some good beasts and some bad beasts out there in Arizona. Yeah. I mean, you got MOD out there with Sun Solar Solutions. Love Michael. He actually does. A couple of my guys actually go to, and I'm just not scared of people, man. I feel like, I'll bring.
Well, you're big though, too, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, in recruiting, like, I'm not scared of my people going to Michael O'Donnell's, like, class. Like I want my people to get, I'm not scared for people to talk to Andy Elliott. I'm not, I have guys from other companies come in and train my guys. So what's it like being out there in Arizona? I mean, dude, Arizona is like the land of EPCs. There is a lot of you guys out there, and it's a tough market. I mean, they're selling low out there. They're slinging solar out there. You got some kind of crazy net metering out there. You're having to, solar's still good, but it's definitely a unique market. So what's it like out there slinging competitive? Like, what's it like?
So, I mean, so far it's been, it's just you're all trying to offer, a good deal and take care of your customers. The way we think about it is like, dude, we're going to be the best at what we, with what's in front of us. We're going to, we're not going to worry about, we'll take what other people say and listen to it, but we're not trying to be other people. We're trying to like share our experience with our customers and make it better. Yeah. Where I think we kind of like, we're not really a sales company. We're installers, and, that gives us an edge because a lot of times when we're showing up at the doors, the homeowners are pissed because the salesperson told them they could shut off their, power after they're done and just things like that. And anything that gives us an edge, we'll use that. And then we're trying to get, once we get it good here in this tough of a market, we can go anywhere and do good. We can expand from here. And then even if even if it gets too tough here, we're not trees, we can pick up and, expand in different areas and go from there. Yeah. And then as far as like bringing people in, like you said, I feel like that's actually better because when you don't bring people and you say, don't go talk to these guys. And they're like, why shouldn't I go talk to these guys? And then they go talk to them and they said, this information is good. Why didn't you want me to hear that? And then they have that resentment against you. Versus if you say, no, I'm big dude, come work for me. And I'm bringing these people in. I bring all the best trainers in the world because there's no denying Michael O'Donnell's amazing. Andy Elliott, these guys they're awesome. So
Andy's intense, man. That dude's
great. We work with him like one-on-one a little bit. He can be, especially on like stage when he's like, but in person, he's the super cool guy. Just down.
He turned on for the podcast. It was really cool. If I'm honest, I've always been a fan of what Andy's done, but that, I didn't know what to expect with the energy and like the personality, he's an intense dude, which I like that. Like I vibe with that. I'm intense in my own way. I feel like Andy Elliott's kind of like my spirit animal, you know what I mean? But I didn't know what to expect. And, you hear a lot of people with the content and I think it's just, it's BS. They're like, oh, he's kind of a bully or he does shit. He absolutely doesn't.
No,
I think that he's 100% not a bully and he absolutely doesn't shame people. I think what he's doing is he's just calling things out exactly the way they are. 100%. And it's really hard truths. And I think that most people are just little bitches, honestly, and they don't want to hear a hard truth and they'll never listen to a hard truth and therefore they'll never change what is going on. But when Andy came in, he spent, an hour and a half in here. I vibe with that dude, man. Like, and then I listened to his podcast, the one we did in the gym twice in a row. Cause I'm like, this dude is speaking my language right now, man. I vibed with him.
Dude, not only that, he might seem like he'll call it out, like you're saying, but he also when he gets dude, I believe in you so much. You're going to fucking kill it. You're going to take over the world. He believed in us so much when we first talked, first time we talked to him, just by, I guess, how we presented ourselves. Yeah. And we're like, dude, he built us up like crazy, just, and this is after his big talk on stage, but it was awesome. And then we're like, dude, we need somebody like that in our life. How do we?
So have you worked with him a little bit?
Yeah, we paid to do some personal coaching with him, and then we've gone to a bunch of his events. He's right here, right in our backyard.
So what has that experience been like for you guys? And what did you learn from? And this is, I have so many mentors, from digital mentors, books, authors, sales guys, sales coaches. I have so many. So this is one of the things that fascinate me with the time that you spent engaging with him. Like what were some of the things you went in thinking, and then what were some of your takeaways that you learned?
So we didn't go in really thinking anything, especially when we very first met him, but we went in there like, this guy clearly knows something we don't, because his business is taken off. Like he showed us, he gets right into the nitty details, showed us like, dude, this is how much this is how much traction my Instagrams are getting. Like, this ain't bullshit. Like he was getting like 50 million views or 50 million like interactions in the last like 30 days or last week or something like that. Like crazy. Yeah. And then just like he gave us actionable things to do. Like, okay, we're in this meeting, we're going to kind of talk over this. And then by next meeting, you have XYZ done, you know? So then next meeting we showed up, and then we, you know, one of the times we did a workout with him, just me and him and my business partner, one other guy. And then after that, we signed up for their fitness coaching and that kind of stuff. And then also now we're going to go, I think he has one with Wes Watson. He's coming into town, so we're going to go to that one. And just like we were talking a little bit earlier, just being around these type of people. Like before I would just buy courses online and but now I don't even care to like go through the information especially. I just want to be around these type of people, like the type of people that are doing big things. Even like just to be around them, even if I look like an idiot, and you know, just to be around them and see how they talk and think, and you know.
Well, and that goes into that imposter syndrome, right? Like we deserve to be around them, and it's like, you know, I don't need to get paid for knowledge. I will pay you for knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, when we go back to the beginning of our conversation, you know, and so you see how like this all, to me, this thing is an ecosystem and all of it. Like we're in an ecosystem in life. We just are, that revolves around certain things. And, you know, when you go back to a core belief, if you have a core belief that knowledge is wealth, right? And it's actionable knowledge. Like, you know, I know some guys and they have some degrees in just not the greatest stuff. I'm like, all right, you got a degree in philosophy. That's, you know, like, I'm not going to pay you for that kind of knowledge. But, you know, I am willing to pay for knowledge that will make me a better father, a better husband, a better leader, better in sales, better builder, better scale. Just anything that'll make me better in the realm of what I'm trying to do professionally in my life. And professionally, I mean, like, you know, I want to be a professional father. Like, I want to be good. I want to spend quality time with my daughters. I want to invest in them. I want to give them a good life. I want to take good vacations with them. I want to have good time with them. I want to spend time with them. I want to give them opportunity. I want to put them in the right zip code. I want to put them in the right school. Like, you know, I want to invest in that relationship professionally, and it's the same with work. So I'm willing to pay. I'm actually going. They have that convention Limitless that's next month. I'm doing that, and then at the end of the year, Tony Robbins is having an event. I'm going to that, paying for both of those, and it's just, you know, knowledge, man. So and you know, listen, there's a reason we're in the room with those guys, whether we have to pay for it or not. And the cool thing is you work hard enough, and one day you're the guy up on the stage.
Yeah.
You know,
literally. I mean, and I think we'll even show you that the videos where he was like just starting, and he nothing like the guy he is today. And just to see like
hair,
literally, and just to see, dude. When one of the ones we went to, that he was like we were talking about how he was so intense. He was like, dude, you got, like, he was talking to my business partner. He's like, you got to like fucking do something, like change your name, do something, like do something big to like break, like something big to like shake you out of like your everyday life, you know?
Yeah. I love that.
But that it is kind of like it is kind of crazy being around those people. To me, it's not really the information they're going to give you or going to their course or whatever. It's just to be around them, see how they process issues, see how they communicate with the world, see how the world communicates with them. You know, one of my favorite people to follow online is Patrick Bet-David, you know, because he has the family, he has the business, you know, the lifestyle, all that. So you can take whatever he says and just like, you know, with no filter, you know, and just take it in and say, okay, if it works for you, you know. And then he has principles, you know, he lives by, like, you can tell, like when he talks about his family, they live by like, you know, strict rules. I mean, but not in like a way that like you have to do this or you're gonna, you know. I grew up in a very like, you have to do this or otherwise you're gonna be, you know, something bad's gonna happen.
Well, and that's where the shackles of fixed mindset start in most of us, is in our childhood, in the schools that we go to, in the lives, you know. That's where most of it starts, and it gets so ingrained in most people. And and one of the things that I've learned is, you know, what is Eero Gray did an essay, and it was called The Common Denominator of Successful People.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he poses, and this is back in the 50s, he was in insurance, and he poses this question, I mean, like, what is the common denominator in successful people? It's not that they're black. It's not that they're white. It's not that they're Spanish. It's not that they're Asian. It's not that they're a man. It's not that they're woman. It's not that they're gay. It's not that they're straight. It's not that they went to college. It's not that they dropped out of high school. When you look at across the board as successful people, there are so many variations. I mean, you have billionaires that dropped out of 8th grade. You have people that made, tens of millions of dollars in their 50s and 60s and were homeless in their beginning. You have, white people, black people, straight people, you name it. And so, the end, what his determination was really simple, was that successful people don't like doing the things that unsuccessful people like doing either, but they subjugate their dislike for doing the thing in order to get the outcome. Meaning, like, all of us who are successful, it's like, most of what I do, I don't feel like doing. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like going to the gym 5 or 6 days a week. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like coming to correlation 5 days a week. I don't feel like flying off to every office in the region and like leaving my like, I don't feel like doing that, but I don't do what I feel like doing. I do what I need to do. I don't quit when I'm tired. I quit when I'm done.
Yep.
And that's the thing, is that most people are not willing to do what needs to be done. They always want to do what they feel like doing. So they're getting the short-term gratification of doing what they feel like and not the long-term gratification of doing what they need to do. And so I think that those, that fixed mindset and that type of mindset starts for most of us when we're children in our homes, because mm-hmm. most of our parents grew up like that, and then in schools. And it's like, breaking through those shackles. And I think Andy has, he has something there where he's talking about shake it up, man. Like, you gotta break yourself out of those cement shoes, mm-hmm. and you got to go after this thing, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's super interesting on that, because you do have to like what I even told him, because when I was growing up, my stepdad, when I was, my mom married my stepdad, that he didn't like the name that I was given at birth, so he changed it to another name. But he never changed it legally. So just growing up, everybody knew me by my other name. And then when I left that religion, left all that, then I changed my name. So that was kind of like a before and then an after. Yeah. And now like I'm a totally like 100% different person than I was supposed to be then. Growing up there, I was supposed to be, like, my stepdad would tell me, if he could hear my voice in that next room over, he'd be like, shut up, you're talking too loud. So we were always talking about be quiet, never like speak up, never have your own opinion like that, which as an entrepreneur and as a leader, that kind of stuff, you have to, the better the better you can pronounce and enact and that kind of thing, the better you're going to do in life. Not just as an entrepreneur and a leader, just as a person in general. The better you can convey your ideas to people and influence people in certain ways, then the better you're going to be. One thing I wanted to talk about is the, like you're saying, like, people can come from every background to make money, but if you don't have that struggle to make that money, like if you're they always talk about, if you're a crypto billionaire and you did nothing, you're still an idiot nerd. You just have a lot of money, but you still don't have the social skills, all the prerequisites that you're supposed to have that kind of money. So you're just like an idiot with a lot of money that nobody really likes, but they're willing to use. But if you go through the struggle and become the man, become the the person that you're trying to be, it takes the struggle. It takes, like, it's not supposed to be easy. When you're pushing at the gym, it's not supposed to be easy. You're not gonna, I always tell my wife that. She's like, so hard. I'm like, it's supposed to be hard. Let's go through an hour of this, and then you can go home and everything's gonna be easy. But anyway,
I love that, man. It's true though. I think, well, and so this is the thing about successful people. Success is a mindset, and there's a thing. I just saw this again, but there's the clip with Will Smith where he's being interviewed, and he says, there's one thing about me, is that you can be prettier, handsomer, smarter, all of it. But if you and me get on a treadmill together, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to get off the treadmill, or I'm going to die. And so there's this thing that comes with doing hard things over long periods of time. And the compound effect is, a law of nature, right? We compound into whatever we are by what we're doing, what our choices are, what our decisions are. and people who do hard things for long periods of time, who can carry more weight further, mental weight, spiritual weight, physical weight, financial weight, fear, anxiety, frustration, depression, happiness, deaths, marriages, divorces, children. I mean, life doesn't care how you feel. You have to have the tenacity and the grit to go through these things and these difficult things and over long periods of time. And that's what builds character. And so that's exactly what you're talking about. The character of successful people is developed over time from doing hard things. None of us grow. The gym is a really easy place to physicality. People can relate to physicality. You're not going to grow in the gym if you're not changing the weight or if you're not going consistently. But if you're continuously increasing the load, increasing the pressure, changing the tempo, changing the times, doing more, taking on more stress load, that's emotional and mental growth as well. That's spiritual growth as well, as going through pain, going through suffering, going through hard times, and coming out on top, staying positive, living in solutions, finding out ways to do it. There's three things that I've experienced. You can die, you can kill yourself, you can quit, or you can win. And if you're not willing to kill yourself, which thank God I've never had that thought personally. And in life, I just have not been willing to quit. And so when I've been in the most immense suffering and pain and frustration and fear, and I've had deaths and I've had, divorces and child custody, and I mean, you name it, man. And I've still had to figure out how to continue to be successful. It's because I wouldn't quit. And so I developed a certain personality traits. And now I act so much better under, I see other people with weight on their shoulders and I'm like, man, I used to carry that. Like, I get it. And that's what builds that character. So people want to skip that. They want the red pill and they want the secret thing. And it's like, no, man, you got to get in the ditch and you got to dig the tunnel. You got to dig, man. So yeah, I love that.
I remember thinking that too when I first kind of got into the real world, and I would think, like, I would see some marketing that would say, for example, me, kind of like led me to like the path of personal development was to try to get girls. So you'd see some.
It all starts with girls,
dude. You'd see some marketing that would say the magic thing to say that will unlock any woman's legs or something like that, and you're like, dude, take my money, And then you'd read it. Oh fuck! Now I have to actually go talk to people. Never mind.
Yeah.
No.
Well, when you get married, the secret is do the dishes, make the bed. Buy some flowers, tell her you love her, pay attention to her, be a good husband. Like that's the trick right there.
Yep. Mine is my wife loves traveling, so if I want anything, just take her traveling.
Mine does too. Well, listen, Stockley, man, it's been great to get to know you, and I hope that whoever has listened to this has enjoyed this conversation. I most certainly have. It's been I love entrepreneurs. I love your spirit. I love where you're at in your process. I wish you nothing but the best, man. I think that you have all the fundamental things that are needed to make your dreams come true. Whatever those dreams are, just find, my goal is always fulfillment. It is what I want and what I'm doing in line with each other. And I think that's where we find fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I hope for you, man. And I, just from talking to you for this, hour here, it's been great to get to know you. And I feel like you're just going to be a massive success, man. So thank you for talking.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for asking questions. And this is enjoyable. I love talking with you as well and kind of getting your feedback on, because you got to learn from people that are further down the road than you, and that kind of thing. So I enjoy that. I enjoy like getting to know you, and then also getting to know like your experience with growing teams. And maybe one of these times we can do one more on diving into like sales team building, because that's going to be a big thing kind of for me going forward.
Yeah, we'll switch numbers, man. If you ever need anything, advice is free, man, and I'm happy to give it.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it.